So my family and I have recently opened our home on Airbnb. Now, if you're not familiar with what Airbnb is, it is an app-based service that allows travelers and visitors to come to a city and stay in residential homes as opposed to hotels and other places like that at obviously a very much cheaper rate. And so, yes, if you were to ever come and visit Joplin, Missouri, you could get on the Airbnb app, you could find our home, and you could come and stay in our guest room. And it would be fun for everyone. And I would charge you. No discount. Sorry, I'm running a business here. So, my family, especially extended family members and things like that, they hear things like this and they go, "What? You're doing what? So people can just come and stay at your house?" Yeah. Like strangers? People you've never met before that are on the internet? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they can. But what if they're weirdos? And, well, honestly, it is a concern. But the truth is, most of my best friends are weirdos, and they come over all the time. So I think we're going to be okay. But it has been, I can't tell you, that it's been such a fun experience for us to practice the art and the spiritual discipline and gift of hospitality, to bring people into our homes and serve them and make them feel just as at home in our house as they would in their own. It's been such a joy to watch my daughters get involved in welcoming strangers around our table. And there's something magical that happens when strangers share a meal together. And time again, we've done that. We've set the table and we've invited them to dinner or to have a drink at our table. And every time, in the matter of moments, walls begin to break down. Strangers become like friends. And, well, we hear the best stories, like this one. So Dan and Shar were driving from Chicago to Dallas to see their grandchildren. And Dan and Shar had the grandparent look down, okay? Right? So matching windsuits, okay? Yeah. White New Balance tennis shoes, okay? The same haircut. Yeah, it's like the marketing department at Cracker Barrel just said, "These people." I mean, it's like they were grandparents all the way. And so we welcomed them into our home. We sat down at our table. We poured drinks, and we just began kind of making small talk. And so I asked them a little bit into the conversation. I said, "So what do you do? What do you do for a living?" Turns out that Shar was a hairdresser. The Dan didn't say much, but he just kind of said, "Well, I'm retired military." And I was intrigued by this, and so I said, "Oh, okay. Well, what branch? When did you serve?" And he said, "I was a helicopter pilot in the Army from 1967 to 1975." Now, if you've been paying attention at all in U.S. history, you know that 1967 to 1975 was the thick of the Vietnam War. So what I should have said was, "Wow, what a sacrifice you made. Thank you so much for your service to our country." But instead, I said, "Was that crazy?" And Dan took a drink and put down his glass and said, It was a fall of 1967, and me and 3 other buddies had just finished flight school. We'd gone through the training, and we knew that we were about to be shipped out, all going different places the next day. So we got together, as we did often, but this time we got together at the bar, and we knew that it was maybe the last time that the 4 of us would sit around a table. So we had a few drinks, and we talked and reminisced about flight school and all our training and what it would be like serving in Vietnam. And we stayed way later than we should have, but they were nice, and they stayed open a little later for us. And it got to be the point where we just knew we had to be on our way. And so one of the guys said, hey, this was wonderful. What a treat this was. We ought to do this again sometime. And of course, we knew what we were facing, but we all said, yeah, let's do it. And then he continued. He said, well, we should commemorate this somehow, right? I mean, we should mark this occasion so when we get back together, we'll have something, a memento to remember this night by. They were like, okay, yeah, let's do that. And so the guy took from the tip, the stack of bills that were there for the tip, and he took a dollar bill, and he just ripped it into fours. And then each of the four got a dollar bill, and they said, okay, when we get back together, we'll put these pieces of the dollar bill back together, and we'll have a drink, and we'll reminisce and tell stories. And then Dan said, and then we pushed back from the table and walked straight into hell. So I'm sitting there. So it was crazy. And I asked the only obvious question. I said, and then what? That's when Dan reached around to his wallet and pulled out his wallet, just thick of insurance cards and credit cards, and he reached back in the very, very back and pulled out a corner of a dollar bill from 1967 that had been through hell. And he said, so we all went to Vietnam, and sometime after 1975, in their late 70s, early 80s, we got together again, all four of us. We sat down at a different bar in a different state, and we put the dollar bill in the middle, and we completed the dollar bill. And every few years, we're getting older now, of course, but every few years we get back together and we put the dollar bill in the center of the table and we tell stories, and much better stories today about our grandchildren and what life is like in retirements. And Dan put the dollar bill back in his pocket, and as he was doing so, he said this. It was crazy, but I knew I wasn't going alone. Now, in just a few hours, we are all collectively going to push back from a table, and you might be walking straight into hell. But you're not going alone. Look, our culture will tell you that you need to strive to be independent. Be your own person, be your own man, be your own woman. But Jesus gives us the church and then leaves us his Holy Spirit as if to say, no. You need all the help you can get. And so some of you tonight maybe need to circle up around a table over Mountain Dew. And you might need to pull out a dollar bill. And you might need to say, look, the four of us, we don't know what awaits us on the other side of that van ride home. But you're not going alone. You have invested these last 5 days in some crucial relationships. Would you please continue to invest in them? Look, your salvation depends on how tightly Jesus can hold on to you, but your walk with Jesus depends on how tightly you can hold on to one another. Make it a priority to walk through it together. Cheapest rap video ever.